The desert does not scream when something terrible happens. It keeps its secrets beneath stone and sand. On a bright morning meant for romance, a young woman walked into a wilderness believing her future was about to begin. Instead, she stepped into a silence so final that even seasoned investigators would later struggle to comprehend what had been done and how carefully it had been planned. Erin Corwin was born on July 15, 1994, into circumstances she would never fully know. Adopted into a deeply faithful Tennessee family, she grew up surrounded by love, responsibility, and a belief that compassion was not optional, but a calling. Her parents raised 7 children, many with special needs, teaching Erin from an early age that care and patience were acts of purpose rather than sacrifice. She absorbed those lessons quietly, instinctively, expressing them not through speeches or attention, but through consistent gentleness. Animals responded to her in ways they did not respond to others, as if fear and trust spoke a language she had learned before words ever formed. As a child in Oak Ridge, Erin was gentle but determined, soft-spoken yet capable in ways that surprised adults around her. She trained animals others could not, calming restless horses that resisted experienced handlers, even teaching a rabbit to walk calmly beside her on a leash. Loss touched her early when her youngest sister died, and grief became something Erin carried inward, shaped by a family that framed pain as proof of love rather than its absence. She learned that love often ends too soon, but that it still matters deeply while it lasts. That outlook stayed with her as she grew older, forming a personality that leaned toward nurturing others, even when it cost her emotionally. In school, Erin met Jonathan Corwin, a boy slightly older, familiar but distant at first, a presence that blended into the background of her early life. Years later, casual messages turned into longer conversations. Conversations softened into affection, and affection slowly hardened into certainty. By 16, their bond had solidified with parental approval, and their relationship unfolded in handwritten poems, late-night promises, and the untested certainty of young love that feels permanent because it has never been challenged. Erin worked at a local supply store after graduation, spent her free hours caring for her horse, and imagined a future built on loyalty, stability, and the quiet comfort of being chosen. Jonathan joined the Marine Infantry, and distance became part of their routine. Confident they could endure it, they married in Las Vegas in late 2012, promising forever, before either truly understood what forever demands from people still discovering who they are. When Jonathan received orders sending him to California, Erin followed without hesitation, believing the move temporary, a chapter that would end with their return to Tennessee, and a life that felt familiar again. They settled on a Marine base near the edges of Joshua Tree's vast desert, a place where isolation stretches endlessly and beauty feels indifferent to human presence. There, they formed close friendships with neighbors and fellow Marines, bonds forged through shared meals, shared stress, and the quiet understanding of living far from home. Among them was Christopher Lee, another Marine, his wife Nicole, and their young daughter. What began as casual dinners and relaxed evenings blurred into something intimate, a small community where doors stayed open, time blended together, and boundaries softened until familiarity became dangerous. Christopher had returned from deployment changed in ways few fully recognized at first. Fellow Marines noticed his recklessness, his casual disregard for weapon safety, his tendency toward chaos disguised as confidence. Warnings followed, then reputations, then quiet concern. At home, Erin's marriage strained under financial stress and emotional immaturity, arguments surfacing that neither had learned how to resolve. When Erin became pregnant, hope briefly erased the conflict, offering a sense of purpose that pulled them back together. That hope collapsed when she miscarried, leaving her grieving alone while Jonathan trained away from home, physically absent when she needed him most. Christopher noticed her pain. He noticed the way her smile faded, the way her energy dimmed, the way silence followed her. He offered attention, sympathy, presence. At first it felt harmless, comforting even. Slowly, lines were crossed that neither acknowledged out loud. One quiet evening, while others watched television, Erin and Christopher sat side by side playing video games, silence heavy with unspoken understanding. A single kiss ended the illusion of restraint. It did not feel dramatic. It felt inevitable. The affair escalated quickly, fueled by secrecy and fantasy, by Erin's longing for connection and Christopher's appetite for control. Plans were whispered in fragments about leaving spouses, about a shared future built on promises neither fully examined, about Erin becoming a stepmother to a child she already cared for deeply. None of it was real. When Nicole discovered the messages, fury erupted, raw and unrestrained, exposing the betrayal to Jonathan and shattering the fragile peace that had held their lives together. Erin tried to end it. Christopher agreed. Words were said. Promises were made. Neither meant it. Weeks later, the affair resumed in secrecy. Erin learned she was pregnant again. This time the child was Christopher's. She told him quietly, without celebration or announcement, hoping for reassurance, for clarity, for honesty. Instead, she was met with concealed panic. Christopher had no intention of leaving his family. His military service was ending, and Alaska awaited him like an escape hatch. Erin, and the life growing inside her, had become obstacles standing between him and the future he wanted. Christopher began preparing. Casually at first. He spoke about desert exploration, about places people never go. He borrowed equipment without explanation. He searched for information no one searches unless they are thinking about erasing evidence. He invited Erin to a surprise evening in Joshua Tree, carefully allowing her imagination to fill in promises he never planned to keep. She allowed herself to believe love was finally choosing her. On the morning of June 28th, Erin told Jonathan she was going out to explore trails. She kissed him goodbye, said she loved him. She walked into the desert carrying hope, unaware it was the last thing she would ever carry. Christopher arrived armed, carrying rope, fuel, and a plan refined by cowardice rather than courage. There was no proposal, only rage, only betrayal. What happened next unfolded beyond witnesses, but the aftermath spoke clearly. Shots cracked through the air. A struggle followed. A rope tightened. Breath stopped. Erin's body was dropped into a mine shaft, 76 meters deep, hidden by darkness, distance, and indifference. When Erin did not return, panic grew quietly at first, then violently. Jonathan called again and again, left messages unanswered, reported her missing, clinging to the belief that she was simply lost. Days passed. Hope thinned. Then her car was found abandoned far from where she claimed she was going. Investigators felt the shift immediately. This was no accident. This was something darker. Digging into Erin's life revealed the affair. Jonathan was cleared. Christopher was not. Tire tracks matched. Stories conflicted. He admitted being in the area, firing his weapon, but denied wrongdoing. Without a body, there was no arrest, no closure. Christopher returned to Alaska with his family, free, while search teams combed thousands of kilometers of desert under relentless sun. Weeks later, a spelunker noticed the sharp smell of gasoline rising from a forgotten mine. A camera lowered into darkness revealed what investigators had feared and hoped never to find. Erin's body was recovered 2 months after she vanished. She had been strangled. She was pregnant. Arrest followed swiftly. Evidence mounted. A homemade weapon was found. Searches confirmed planning. At trial, Christopher admitted killing Erin, but claimed justification through a fabricated accusation born of desperation. The jury deliberated 15 minutes. The verdict was guilty. Life without parole. For Erin's family, justice did not erase loss, but it ended uncertainty. The desert kept it secret for a time. In the end, it gave Erin back.